So here's another project for someday on the YouTubes. At Florida Flywheelers, I picked up this water pump. I've done a little bit of digging around, and it's a Jack & Company fire pump, and they started this model in the late 20s. So the model is a DDVO, which I do not find a whole lot of information for online. It's very similar to a DDVA, from what I can tell, and there's a couple others. Let me show you a close-up of that. So 2-cylinder, 2-stroke. Seems to be the original carb. I'll do some closer looking at that in a minute. The pump is a vane type pump. I think I found online it's capable of 200 psi. Although that sounds a little high to me. There is a gauge on there, but I can't read it. A pressure gauge. Take a look at the other side here before we go over it in detail. Not as much to see over here. Yeah, on this side we got the exhaust. That's about it. There's not much going on over here. We do have a water outlet for the cooling jacket. The water inlet's actually right here in the back. Something interesting I found out while looking. I believe this engine is made by Evinrude. Some of these I saw online. They actually say Evinrude across here. This one says WAJAX. I guess that's how you would pronounce it, WAJAX. Some of the models I've seen actually have a plate on here that say Evinrude. I'm not sure about this one, whether it had a plate there or not. I thought I remember seeing the plates were screwed down or riveted. Didn't have that hole. Go over the engine a little closer. Seems to be the original carburetor. The speed, slow, stop. So there's your throttle. Have a mixture screw on the bottom. Fuel comes in through this line. There's a float bowl. This seems to be your choke. There's a screen inside of here. I don't know if it shows up very well, but it's got 3 of them, 3 inlets. Do have a couple primer cups. These are oil for the 2 front and rear main bearings. Looks like you fill it with oil. Maybe this is an adjustment or something. It looks like it is. Yep. I guess you spring loaded. Guess you pull it to let oil in. Not sure. I'll have to experiment with that. Here's another view of the water inlet. Water inlet is fed off of the pump, the main pump. It says discharge down here, and the other side says suction. So this will be the discharge side. Our plate on the back here is brass. Same with the front. The ignition wires are gone. Guess this was a little plate that held the wires, because there's little screws sticking up in some plastic pieces here, which I assume the wires came through there and bolted into these. You spun them onto these little screws. I'm not sure. I'll have to mess with that and see. Let me give you a better look at this here. These pieces right here, underneath this metal piece, you can barely see it there, but it's threaded. It looks like you would put the plug wire on it and screw it down, and it would dig into the center core of the plug wire. And this would somehow hold it on, depending on the way the wires are set up. I'm not totally sure on that. Here's your timing adjustment. Take a peek at the other side. A little closer anyway. So, like I said earlier, there's not much over here. We got our water outlet. We got a little port down here for something. Maybe clearing out the crankcase if it's flooded. Maybe oiling that center bearing. I don't know, because I would think there's a separation here between these two chambers for scavenging. This is two-stroke. Be nice to find just some instructions on this thing. There's some literature online where they're showing this thing, some straps on it, and you're hiking into the wilderness fire with it on you like a backpack. Weighs about 100 pounds. Alright, switch over to the pump side. Pump itself seems to be a vane type pump. Right now the coupler's loose. So like you have a brass fitting here and on the back, and there's probably a packing there where you tighten these screws down to help control water. This part in the back here is the rear of a pressure gauge that you cannot read the front. Yeah, maybe we'll try it from the other side. Inside the pump here, supposed to be a vane type pump. I'm not sure if all the parts are there. It looks a bit rough, and I know you do not run these pumps dry at all or it kills it. So if somebody's ran this engine with the coupler attached, that could be issues. Back on the other side, you got a couple grease cups for the packing and the bearings on the front. We have line going to the engine for cooling. This part here, I don't know. I was thinking it went to the gauge, but why would the gauge have a valve on it? So, not sure. And I don't know where the gauge would go other than that, because it's not there. Some of the pictures I saw online, the gauge is mounted differently. So, not sure. Just some close-ups here. There's where it says discharge. Alright, our gas tank, seen better days. This is desoldered. It's a little crusty inside, but it's probably solid. It feels solid on the bottom. From what I could tell, it's not soft or anything. It's a good deal there. Here's oiling instructions. I'll leave it there for a minute. Alright. Here's more oiling instructions, I believe. And another plate on here is the pump. That's a little tougher to read. Let me see if I can get one decent enough to put up there. Yeah, we'll see. I'll get a good picture of it and we'll post it up right now. So here's the kicker. I haven't talked about condition of this engine yet. It is locked down. And from what I could tell, it's the second cylinder. Got some moisture in it. Let's see. Usually tough on two strokes. We'll look at number one first. If I can get any light down there. There you go. There's a good view. See a stripe of rust on the cylinder, but overall the cylinder doesn't look too bad on that one. Couple spots. This one on the other hand, piston's too high to see the cylinder. But when I feel down in there, there's some big chunks like that one right there. So we might not be too happy on that cylinder. We'll see. That one's great. That one not so much, and it looks like they dumped some oil in there. Anyway, so at some point, this will be a teardown. See what it looks like, see what's going on. And if the cylinders are good enough and I can make that second cylinder work, we'll restore it, get it running. Haven't decided whether I just want to get the engine running or restore the whole thing, although it's kind of a cool setup. Be interesting for sure. On this base, there's only one thing I found. There's a crack right there and there. But this large section isn't cracked, so that's cast aluminum, I guess. Maybe we'll try a repair on the backside. See what it does. I don't know. Anyway, any information y'all have on this, throw in the comments. Anything you got. Right now I'm at the accumulating info phase of this thing, trying to figure out what I got, what I needed to do, and that sort of thing. And then we'll go from there. Quick update on this thing. Made the rest of the video yesterday. Today I was in the shop tinkering. I took this long plastic rod and inserted it in there and tapped it a few times with this mallet. Not very hard actually, and it actually punched a hole in the piston. It broke through, so let's see if we can turn on the light and see it. Yeah, there you go. We can see the wrist pin down there. So if I'm lucky, most of that corrosion buildup in there, the chunks, is from the piston itself corroding and not from the cylinder. So maybe I can find a piston. But a little more research. Evinrude made an inboard version of this from the teens into the 20s of this particular engine, and some parts seem to be available. Or maybe I can match the piston up based on size, or even make one. But if that one eroded away like that, this one might be soft too. I don't know. We'll see. We'll definitely have a video tearing this engine down and seeing what we can find. Hopefully next time we see this thing, we're taking it apart.